It is Monday, it is noon, it is time for the next episode of the CraigSkitz podcast. This week with quite possibly the most CraigSkitz guest ever, the most fringe guest ever. Look, if you followed my career, you're probably going to know at least of what this guy's about, but if you never followed my career, you probably have no idea, and you're probably not watching this podcast anyways. With that said, this is Mark Berokoff. He was the coach of the Bandits, my SLAMBALL team in 2003. This conversation is like two friends getting together who haven't seen each other in literally a decade, and it's super fun. It's a short episode, but hopefully it's a quick episode for you. I do want to let you know, speaking of my career, this episode is brought to you by the next step in my career, CollaboratorClub.com. This is a new project that I just announced today. I encourage you guys to go to CollaboratorClub.com. If you are a small, medium, large creator, if you create any content online, this is a place where you want to go on Twitch or on YouTube. Get your information in there. And what Collaborator Club is about is a place that's going to allow you the opportunity to search, create, and grow with other creators. Collaboration is something that is incredibly important to literally every creator. It's the fastest way to grow. You can't rely on websites. You can't rely on algorithms. You have to work and share each other's audiences. And this is a great place that allows you to connect with other collaborators and other creators to allow you to grow as fast as you possibly can. So with that said, there's a link in the description. Please, if you are any size creator, go check it out. It would be really great for your career, potentially, depending on how you use it. And the more people are on it, the more valuable it becomes to you. With that said, I think you're going to really enjoy this podcast. Go check it out. Starting right now, Mark Berokoff, coach of the Bandits in 2003. Woo, boy. Let's get to it. Hello, Coach.
What's going on, Skitz?
Oh, man. Okay. So prior to this, I've given people an intro as to who they are to you or who you are to me, which is very exciting. I need people to know that we have not legitimately spoken in a decade, maybe. Probably more.
If it's a decade, but it's been like random tweets.
Yeah, right.
Or like a weird email back and forth to each other in the last decade. So yeah, I haven't seen you like personally like this in so long.
It's crazy. It's awesome. I love it. It's great to see your face. So obviously people are gonna want this is gonna be brief. You're a busy guy. We got lots of things to talk about, but so I'm gonna get right into this. Obviously, I recently put a video up of me reacting to an old SlamBall game. And some people have been anxious when they heard that I was going to be interviewing my coach from SlamBall. I thought that'd be really fun, and this is about as me as it gets. So let's talk about SlamBall as a whole. How did you get involved?
So it was funny. I was just sitting here thinking because you told me we were going to talk SlamBall. So I was like, okay, how did this all go down? Originally, my best friend is Hernando Planels, who coached the Bouncers. Mm-hmm. And another guy that I coached with, Kevin Stapleton,
right,
which was the Slashers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they in season 1 went to like this tryout thing, and I was like, "You guys are crazy! I'm not going to go stand in line and do all this thing." And they came back and were super excited about SlamBall. And I'm like, "What in the world?" So I went and watched some of the tapings, like in season 1, because I was a celebrity VIP with them because they were the coaches, and I got to sit front row and watch all this stuff happen, and it was like the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Like it's like everybody likes hockey when you go watch hockey, but when you watch it on TV, unless you're a diehard fan, you're like, I don't know about hockey. But SlamBall like captivated me. It was crazy how cool it was in person. And then they said they were going to do a season 2. And it's like, how anything works in any business you're in, you got to have a connection to get in.
Sure.
And they had a connection with the guy that created it in Mason, and I went and interviewed, and I think I beat out like an NBA guy. Nice. And I who knows why or how, but maybe I just crushed the interview. I don't know. Maybe it was my good-looking face. But that's how I got involved in SlamBall. It was just through 2 friends and my best friend and Hernando. So
it's all about who you know, which is great. All about who you know. What did so I've told the story many times about how I was this like my trip to SlamBall was through the internet, and like that was my first taste of what the internet did. I was this guy who was a big fan of the first season. Then I was big on the message boards. I want to play. Then Mason comes on and he's like, okay, I'm going to give one person a tryout, and it's me. So I go in and I drive out there and stuff. Do you recall? Because I was the last pick in the in the whole draft, right? And I have my theories on this because they were following me around with the camera, like this documentary style thing, and I think they wanted to have this internet guy to SlamBall like thing going on, and like this fan to player type story. And whenever they put the camera in my face after I was drafted, I was legitimately pissed off because I thought I was better than 63 other people that were drafted in front of me, right? Because they're like, "How do you feel?" And they're expecting me to be like, "Oh, let's just go out and win." And I was just like, "I'm just ready to fucking play. Let's go," you know. Can you talk about, because the draft was predetermined. Everybody knew, like you knew, because I remember everyone turning around and looking at me like right before the draft. I was like, "Oh, so I'm going to be picked as the last," you know. Were you a part of that process? Do you remember that? What that was like?
It's funny. There's like a few things I remember about SlamBall. And one of the things is drafting you. And that's a true story, because I've actually talked about it to like my teams before about you. And I mean, to be very honest, as we were getting ready for tryouts, we heard the buzz about there's an internet guy here. And he's just like this crazy fanatic into SlamBall. So originally, all of us went in there thinking that, well, he's got to be just an okay player. Right. You know, he's like this. It's like a promotion. And then 2, we started watching you, and you were actually really good. And I remember trying to keep it close to my vest because I remember, like, 1, I like the underdog story. I always have. It doesn't matter for any of my teams. Sure. But 2, I'm like, I don't want anybody else to get this guy because I really like him. And I saw something in you because the passion was there. And like you're saying, yeah, you probably were genuinely upset because, yes, you were better than some of the guys that went before you. Mm. But in the draft, I kind of knew that I was kind of like the one that really liked you a lot. And I just kept holding on hope that like you weren't going to get picked and that I could strike when I needed to. And it was just one of those things where I could just get the vibe in the room that I was the one that really liked you. Others liked you. Yeah. But it's like, you know how it is. It's like when any sport, you know, you have that one guy you like and you can kind of feel the room out when you're making your picks. And I'm like, I'm going to get this kid. And I'm like, I'll just make it the last pick. Not thinking, I think the story, like, it was a good story. Like, this guy came off the internet and he actually was a pretty good guy. And then we drafted him last. And like, where's he going to go from there? I never thought that. I'm like, I don't really care where I get him, but like, okay, this is going to be the spot. And it never played into my mind like, this is going to be a good storyline that Skitz is the last guy picked in the draft. I was just genuinely glad to have you. And I don't know, were you the actual last guy? Because I was an expansion team. So how did that? Well,
what I remember is you got the first pick, which was Martise, which
rest in peace.
Which I just heard that like recently that he passed, which makes me sad. I also heard that Dion Mays passed as well. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
It's crazy. But yeah, so Martise was the first pick, and I guess it was a snake draft, right?
So that's how it happened.
So I ended up I think that's how it is. And so it's funny because clearly nobody was going to pick me. So that's great though. But I remember getting picked, and I remember them like coming up with their documentary crew like immediately after me, like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, "Man, fuck off," you know? Yeah. But it was great. So we get into the season. And I talk about how I didn't really get a whole lot of run early on. And then about halfway through the season, our season was, you know, I see halfway through the season, like we filmed for 2 weeks. So after like the first week, you know, we got our ass kicked. And I think Martise said something to you like, "Hey, you should probably let Craig play a little bit or something," or I was suggested or something along those lines. And I remember I played pretty well the second half of the season.
Martise was like your biggest fan. Mm-hmm. 2, he was always in my ear about playing you. 3, you were probably the MVP. You and maybe Jerry, like Crucial, were like the 2 best dudes halfway through like that halfway point on. Yeah, you guys were awesome. It's like it's one of those things you look back at as a coach. You're like, man, I kind of made a mistake. I made a mistake. I should have played you earlier. Oh, but, man, you know, it's like when you have these draft picks, you want to play the higher draft picks regardless. But it was like you were one of those guys like we couldn't keep off the court eventually.
That's funny.
Like you just kept pestering your way in. And by meaning pestering, it's like once you got on, you pestered so much you couldn't take you out. I mean, I remember how good you were the second half on.
You
were
need
outstanding.
You're pumping up my 21-year-old ego right now, Coach. So
yes,
stop
that's
it.
what
Stop
it's all
it.
about.
Stop doing it. That's awesome. Well, it was a fun ride, man. And I remember, a lot of people were like, well, what happened to SlamBall? What happened to SlamBall? Like, I just know there was the TV rights thing and all that, and then it went over to China or something for a while, and I guess it's still there. And I heard something about maybe heading to Australia several years back, and I don't know, it's just kind of in this place. But I really feel SlamBall was like way ahead of its time. Like if that was to be released today with social media, like you'll see something SlamBall passed around on Twitter with millions of views, and it was viral back in 2002, 2003, and then it just stopped. Like it never had the legs, which I just feel like if somebody was to put a little bit of money behind it now, that it could have an opportunity to, I'm not saying take on a major sport, but I think it could be a pretty cool product online.
Yeah, it definitely was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And it's as we talk about social media today, social media is really good, and there's also the negative social media. I mean, how much social media controls everything.
Yeah.
It's easy to get on a keyboard and have your platform and say, but in the positive, SlamBall would have just skyrocketed with social media. I mean, all of the platforms out there. I mean, could you imagine just the quick to grab a kid's attention for 10 seconds of a dunk off of a trampoline like those guys were doing, or you guys were doing? I mean, it would explode. And how fast social media circulates.
Right. It's insane. Yeah. It'd be SportsCenter top 10. Well, I mean, like it would be bigger than SportsCenter top 10, because I remember being on SportsCenter top 10 back then was a big deal. Now it's like SportsCenter's an afterthought. Like you don't even think about ESPN now. It's so secondary to what's trending on Twitter. There was another adventure. I mean, SlamBall was super fun. Do you have any other like stories you want to tell about SlamBall before we move on to another adventure we went on together?
There's like two things. Like one, the Bandits we weren't successful in the win column, but that team was pretty tight knit, and it's great because of the stories. Like, I mean, I know that everybody has them, but like you and I are talking. I still talk to Crucial all the time.
Do you?
We talk all the time.
What's he doing?
He's still doing the thing with the homeless stuff in downtown LA, and he's got like his I think the Skid Row basketball league, and he's still doing some amazing things. And Martise and I talked a lot before he passed away. Jay Turner, Justin is it Turner? I still have his jersey in my upstairs in my house. Nice. No, I do. The thing I remember is we had one of the national televised games, and everybody was so into Stan Fletcher and the Steel, and we hammered him on national TV. I'll never forget that. And then the next year, I co-coached with Hernando, which when you get to coach with your best friend, that's pretty cool. And Rocket Ishmael was one of the other coaches. And Rocket and I have kind of maintained a friendship from that. And I took my team a couple years ago. We were out in that area. He got us involved with Notre Dame. We took a tour of the stadium, and we practiced at Notre Dame for basketball. So there's been some cool connections with it. I mean, I kind of feel like some of us have been forgotten. But even us forgotten guys have these great relationships that have connected through SlamBall still. So I think it's those are what things that I remember of SlamBall, the connections and the friendships.
Yeah, I mean, life's a journey, right? Like it's all about the experiences. And I look back then, I was 21 years old, right? And I think I always say to people is like, I got paid to play a sport. So technically I was a professional athlete, technically, you know? And that's pretty awesome. That's really cool. And you look back on that stuff, and like the things that I remember about that, I remember going on I'm sure you heard about this back then. You probably forgot about it all about this, but I remember going to Vegas one weekend with the guys and essentially being their babysitter as George Bird is stumbled drunk. Like I'm having to pull him back to his hotel. And I just remember being there with like 10 dudes. They're all just like shit-faced drunk. And I'm here trying to be their daddy, like take them back to their rooms and take care of them. And then we went again like 3 weeks later. And I was like, screw this. And I went hard and didn't give them a chance. So, but you're right. It's all about the fun experiences. Speaking of experiences, and I didn't even realize, I was trying to remember how this happened in my life. And I just was reading your bio on the Randall website, and it dawned on me where the All-American Professional Basketball League came into my life, and it was from my relationship with you, which I I remember. This is something I don't think I've really ever talked about, like in my last 15 years of my career. But so you were hired. It says on here that you were hired to be the head coach and VP of operations for the Lincoln Generals of the All-American Professional Basketball League, the AAPBL. And I remember it like it was yesterday, run by Worth Christie was his name. Was that right?
Yeah, how can you forget that name?
All right, you're going to get to that story in just a second. You're really going to enjoy the AAPBL story, I think. But with that said, I do want to let you know this episode is brought to you by my brand new project, CollaboratorClub.com. Once again, if you are a creator of any size, I encourage you to open up a new window right now. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening to this thing, open up a new window and go to CollaboratorClub.com. Get your information in. You can log in with either Twitch or YouTube and just be ready to go, because in a few weeks I'm going to email you and let you know when you can start searching and finding and creating and growing with other creators. Because once again, if I had this tool when I started my career, it would have been amazing and helped so much. Once again, collaboration is the only way, the best, most proven method to growing online, and CollaboratorClub.com is all built around allowing you to do that. So go to it right now. There's a link in the description, or open up a new window and go to CollaboratorClub.com. All right, guys, let's continue on the story of the AAPBL with Mark Berokoff and your boy, CraigSkitz. So this was an adventure that I remember you telling me about, and I was like, well, I'm not going to play in this thing because I'm not good enough to play in the league. Because I knew where I was from a basketball standpoint, but I also knew that I wanted to be get into journalism and call games and stuff. So I remember being told about this and going up there and experiencing going up to was it Billings, Montana?
Montana.
Yeah, so we went into Billings, Montana. They had this tryout, or this, I guess, was a tryout process, a mini camp.
Yeah, it was like a summer league. Yeah, it was like
right.
the pro summer league. Yep.
Right. Can you talk about that experience just with the AAPBL?
Yeah. So one, as a young coach, the Hernando enticed me with this. Again, Hernando. And talked about this great league. And I was actually at Morro Bay High School, which was my dream job of all jobs.
I visited you out there. I remember visiting you. It was outstanding.
Yeah, you see, so I went from a school where I was super successful at Calvary Chapel Downey, had some great players, won a lot of things, and it like propelled me to get to this Morro Bay, which is like on the coast. We were surfing and bodyboarding every day. The school was built on the ocean. I loved it. And then this league came about. And it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, if you take the chance and it really goes off, you've missed out. So I took the chance and left my dream job to do this. And it was wild because Hernando and I lived in Casper, Wyoming for like 3 months. And it was just he and I putting together this entire summer league. And we would stay in like this office from like 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock at night. Go back to the hotel. We were living with like the semi-pro indoor football team, the Wyoming team there. We would eat top ramen. Our blood pressure was skyrocketing because that's all we could afford. And we would do this like 7 days all the time. And it was just, we put together, believe it or not, we put together a really incredibly good basketball league where a lot of those guys went on, like, I can't remember off the top of my head, but went on to play like at higher levels and play overseas. And they were all successful. And I just remember showing up at Billings in this big, huge arena. And I'm like, how is this thing not going to work? There's like no way. It's like everything looks like it's going to work. And the games were really good. And I'll tell you what I remember the most, and then you could go back from about your story. But what I remember the most about this was my wife and I moving. And we put all of our stuff in this moving truck. And we had actually rented a home in Lincoln. And we were halfway there, crossing into the Nebraska state line, when I got a call from Cliff Levingston. Remember, Cliff was a coach. Mm-hmm. And Cliff said, "Hey, Mark, I just got to let you know the league just folded." And, we had hung out with like Cliff and Adonis Jordan, all these big name guys, right? And I'm thinking, Cliff, do not tell me that. My wife goes, "What?" And he goes, the league just folded. And I said, are you serious? He goes, the league is no longer. And I remember pulling over in, McCook, Nebraska. It was McCook, Nebraska. And my wife and I stayed at this rundown hotel. And we were contemplating, like, where do we go now? And I remember calling the moving truck, and they had there's like a thing when you move with the big moving companies. If they like leave the premises or whatever, you have to pay for the entire move. And they had not left. They were just getting ready to leave. So we had to I forgot. I can't remember. It was such a bad time in my life that we just caught it in a time. We had to pay like the first month rent, last month rent of this house that we never moved into. We stayed in McCook, Nebraska. I'm talking at a rundown, disgusting hotel for like 2 days.
You like got to check the sheets type of thing. Yeah. Ugh.
And I remember we went back and lived with my parents, and I coached high school football at my alma mater, like my high school, with my buddy John Caffrey, who just like said, yeah, come coach with me. Mm-hmm. That's what I remember of the AAPBL. And I remember Hernando and I sued Worth. And it's a funny story that we're even talking about this, because Hernando was getting ready to move to his new job a couple of weeks ago and found our court documents of like what we were owed. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so back to you. Weren't you going to like radio broadcast the game? What were you going to do? Because it was like, I remember getting you involved in this.
Right. So that was well, first off, I want to follow up real fast before I get to me. Did you win anything with that? Because I remember with us, I was only out $1,000.
I don't know, since that was so long ago. He filed bankruptcy.
Oh yeah, okay. So no, you didn't. Yeah, and that's
so there was like a lot of money owed, and there was like 3 or 4 of us on the suit, and
right. It all went away after filed bankruptcy. Yeah, that's
we lost a ton of money.
That's crazy. It's
all
crazy.
of us involved with it.
Just for the listener and viewer, the long and short of it is. This guy essentially scammed everybody out of their money. It's essentially what it was.
Yeah, you said it best right there. Yeah.
So, but it was a great life lesson. Yeah. So I went up there. I went up there with the intention of, let's see, what year was this? This was 2005, 2000.
Yeah.
2005. Yeah. 2004, something like that. I went up there with the intention of calling games, calling play-by-play, just getting better at that. I was finishing up school, and I wanted to do some PA and stuff. And I'd worked with I think at that point, either I just had or I was about to work with, whenever the NBA DLeague first launched, I actually worked with them with 2 of their teams. And I went back and forth. Now that must have been after the AAPBL. But I went back and forth between Austin and Fort Worth, and I was like an in-game guy for like their on-court guy, and I was like, I know in Fort Worth I was their PA announcer, which was really cool. So I got to call a bunch of that stuff. But yeah, the AAPBL was quite an adventure. And
Hernando and I roped you into going to Montana.
Right. But I'll tell you this: I loved Montana. I thought Montana was awesome, like actually, I went up to I did a road trip up to South Dakota, like up in that area, that South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana. Man, I love that area up there. I know you probably don't, because it probably has some sour grapes, but at the same time, man, I really love just the tranquility of being out there in the middle of nothing.
It was a cool deal. Listen, other than the craziness that happened to it, the league was really good.
Right.
The coaches were really good. The idea behind him before he scammed all of us was really good. I still like Montana. Yeah, it was beautiful. The arena was awesome. I mean, like, think about the scam job that he did on us. Everything was like first class.
It was
wild.
Well, it was nuts. I remember going in and just setting up, being like the PA guy one day, and I just brought my computer up and hooked it in through a jack, and I played all the audio cues and stuff through iTunes on my Mac. And I didn't go in prepared for anything like that. So I was just playing songs that I had downloaded and put on my computer, and I was just trying to add to the environment, that's
crazy.
For the tens of people who showed up to that process. Because I think what happened was he saw that nobody, because wasn't it like it was open to the public? People could show up and come watch it, and like nobody showed up for it. So I think he kind of saw it and was like, okay, you know what? Now it's
Yeah.
time to get out on this, and I'll take my $100,000 I made off everybody, and
Yeah,
then
exactly.
put it in another business, and then file bankruptcy with this one, man. It's crazy. One of the other things that I thought was really cool, and I talk about. Someone goes, well, I was asking, are you the most successful slam baller? I was like, I don't think so. I know I'm not the most successful slam baller, because number one, success is relative. Number two, another part of your journey was you worked with the stunt coordination and basketball coordination in some movies while you were out in LA, right?
We did. Yeah. So Hernando and I got together. He obviously way more than me was on Coach Carter, and he got me involved in the process of picking the people for the movie and then training them. And then he, as a favor, because I knew a lot of people that worked on it. Ken was SlamBall coach. They put me on one of the teams, like the first game and the last game of the movie, Coach Carter. So I got to work on that for a while, which is really cool. That always comes up with recruiting now, and like kids see that it's like their favorite movie of all time.
Oh yeah.
And then two, which not a lot of people realize, but Hernando and I took that and we went into the Game Show Network and pitched being the coordinators for Extreme Dodgeball.
Really?
Not a lot of people know that. We went in there as these unknown people, and Hernando and I worked together, and we sold them on us being the coordinators and the trainers for Extreme Dodgeball. And we did that for 2 years, and it was like the #1 show on the Game Show Network. And there is out there in the dark web out there, there's a documentary of the training camp with Hernando and I on it. And I think we found it last year, and it's on some random one of our emails.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, we parlayed that into Extreme Dodgeball, and we did it for 2 years. We went to like Hollywood and watched the leagues and like picked players out of the leagues. And like, that was right when the movie was big.
Right.
Whatever that movie was, Dodgeball.
Yeah.
It's funny, like the things you do because of things, like there's no way we get Extreme Dodgeball without SlamBall.
Right.
We parlayed that into Extreme Dodgeball, and it was cool. I mean, we were on set for 2 seasons, and it was awesome. I mean, it's one of those stories like you look back on and say, man, we did Extreme Dodgeball. Us, really? Extreme Dodgeball?
Oh man, that's outstanding.
Yeah, it was cool. It was. Yeah, I've done some interesting things.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's all about the journey, right? It's all about the journey.
Yeah, without all that stuff, we're not sitting here doing what we're doing right now.
Right.
It's like, yeah, sometimes at the time it was like, I can't believe that happened, or I'm so disappointed. But man, now you look back on it, it's stories to talk about, and it's funny things, and it's like, how did we end up doing that?
Right. Exactly. Oh. But at the end of the day, we're all right here together, which is great. So I love that. So now you are the head coach at Randall up in Oklahoma.
Yep.
Which is fun. So you can't, this is a Division II school, and you've won championships.
Yeah, we won 3 national titles in a row, 16, 17, and 18. And then
well, what happened in 19, Coach? Come on.
We were actually the #1 seed and got historically upset in the Elite Eight.
Oh.
It was bad.
Oh,
it was really bad. Really, thank you for bringing that up.
Sorry, the AAPBL brought up just digging a bigger hole, So.
Digging wounds in me. Yeah.
Well, so talk about that. Will you talk real quick? I know we got to wrap up here. You got to get going, but talk about your time at Randall and kind of how long you've been there, and if anybody wants to play ball, should they get a hold of you or what?
Sure. Yeah, by all means. No, so I've been at Randall. This is year 8. So I went from, we're talking SlamBall and all that stuff. I went from SlamBall and doing all those things to I coached at Louisiana Tech, Hill College, a junior college in Texas, to Texas State. And then I got here. So I've been here 8 years. I'm the athletic director. I teach here in the sports management department. We played Baylor a couple years ago on national TV and played really well. It's a non-scholarship program, so we don't give out athletic scholarships here. So we've really got to recruit hard and find the right fits. But we've been in the national. We won a national title 3 years in a row. We lost in the national title game in 2015. The program's really good. We've got great kids. I've got good assistants. My assistant Garrett White does a great job. But Randall's a great place. It's only like 350 students. Very small.
Where's Randall located?
Oklahoma City. So we're probably like 15 minutes from Norman.
Oh, so you're only Coach. We got to get together.
I've told you this. We're like 3 hours away.
We're gonna listen. You and I are gonna have a picnic at a Buc-ee's one day. All right, we're gonna go to Buc-ee's. You know Buc-ee's?
Yeah, it's a great gas station.
That's right.
Is that one of your sponsors? If so, I would like to be sponsored by Buc-ee's too.
No, Buc-ee's is not a sponsor, but I will sponsor them. That's how much I love Buc-ee's. It's great.
Yeah, we got to meet up there.
We will absolutely. No, seriously, I'll drive up there and we'll spend some time. You got to meet my kids and my wife and all that stuff. We've all grown up.
You're meeting your wife and your kids. My daughter's a sophomore in college.
Yeah, that's effing crazy because I remember her being the size of my kids. So
yes,
that's
she's
crazy.
A sophomore in college at Oklahoma State in the veterinarian program. Believe that. I've been married 25 years now too.
That's crazy. Oh my God. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, look. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. I'm going to say thank you, Coach. If anybody wants to get more information about you, where should they find you, or just tell them anything you want to tell them?
I mean, you could follow me on Twitter. It's Randall MBB. So RANDALL Randall MBB, or just email me mberokoff@ru.edu, and that's BEROKOFF. So yeah, nice. Anything, or if you want to talk slam ball or talk about skits or anything, I'm an open book. Email away.
Nice, I love it. All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, Skits.
So if anybody has like a couple $1 million just laying around and they want to get SlamBall up and going, just let me know, and I'll definitely lead that charge. And as incentive, I'll even get on the court and throw down a dunk or two. You know, maybe go between the legs or something, as long as I don't hurt myself. All right, next week's episode is a doozy. Is a guy who's been asked about quite a few times. It's Pan Pizza from the YouTube channel Rebel Taxi, a huge classic Screw Attack fan. Who has gone on to create, been a creator and turn it into his career. It's really, really cool. And it's a great conversation. I can't wait to share with you guys. That's next Monday at noon Central Time. Of course, noon Central Time on Mondays. You guys know that by now. With that said, go to collaboratorclub.com if you are a creator of any size, and go get your information there. So in a few weeks, you can start finding, creating, and growing with other collaborators. Guys, have a great week. We'll see you guys then. If I don't see you next week, what's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. I need to see you. Mondays, noon o'clock with your boy, CraigSkitz. Have a good week. Bye-bye.